We begin the news with President Bola Tinubu assuring Nigerians that 2026 will be a more prosperous year for all. Tinubu stated this in his New Year message on Thursday, adding that his administration would sustain the momentum on its major reforms. The president said that the focus in 2026 would be on consolidating the gains and continuing to build a resilient, sustainable, inclusive, and growth-oriented economy. Now, according to him, Nigeria closed 2025 on a strong note, as despite the policies to fight inflation, it recorded a robust GDP growth each quarter, with annualized growth expected to exceed 4% for the year. Tinubu explained that the nation maintained trade surpluses and achieved greater exchange rate stability, while inflation declined steadily and reached below 15%, in line with his administration's target. Meanwhile, former Vice President Atiku Abubakar has criticized President Bola Tinubu's administration over the economy, insecurity, and governance, accusing it of incompetence, lawlessness, and political intimidation. Now, Atiku said 2025 was one of the most punishing years in Nigeria's recent history, blaming what he described as economic mismanagement and governance without empathy under the All Progressives Congress-led federal government. He accused the ruling party of deliberately weakening Nigeria's democratic institutions, alleging efforts to turn the country into a de facto one-party state through intimidation and state capture. He warned that a government capable of tampering with laws could not be trusted to conduct free and fair elections in 2027. Meanwhile, Nigeria today, Thursday, the 1st of January 2026, commenced the implementation of its much-anticipated new tax laws and fiscal reforms amid widespread public anxiety. President Bola Tinubu had on Tuesday reaffirmed that the new tax regime signed into law in June 2025 would take effect on the 1st of January, despite repeated calls for various quarters for a suspension to allow for further review. Defending the reforms, President Tinubu assured Nigerians that the new tax laws would not impose additional burdens on citizens. His position was echoed by Taiwo Oyedele, the chairman of the Presidential Fiscal Policy and Tax Reforms Committee, who maintained that the implementation was necessary to reposition the country's revenue framework. Now, joining us to shed more light on this are two gentlemen, Samuel Oyekanmi, a research and insight lead at Norrenberger Financial Group, and Olusesan Okunade, a chartered accountant and tax consultant. Let me start with Oyekanmi. Happy New Year to you. What is the main goal of these new tax laws, and how do they help to reduce Nigeria's reliance on oil money?
Yeah, again, Happy New Year, right? I think it's pretty much information out there while the government has embarked on this journey to pretty much harmonize our tax structure in the country in a bid to also improve tax collection, because one of the issues that we've had over time has been the fact that we have a number of businesses and individuals, especially high-earning people, who evade taxes and have not been quite compliant when it comes to taxation. And then you also have issues of multiple taxation, either from states, local government, and even from the federal level on businesses and individuals. So again, what these reformers try to do is to harmonize the tax system and in a way come up with some form of progressive timetable or calendar that helps to reduce the burden, tax burden on low-earning individuals and corporates, while also taxing pretty much imposing higher taxes on higher earners. What these would do is going to help beyond improving tax collection, is also going to help simplify tax collection. So if you look at the medium-term expenditure framework that was released for 2026 into 2028 and 2028, you see that oil revenue has not been doing well, again, as has been the case over time. And what that tells you that in the medium to long term, it would be non-sustainable to rely on revenues coming from the international oil market, either as a result of the volatility in international crude oil prices or the inability of Nigeria to be able to meet production quota. So there's need to source those revenues from other side. And one of those things is to be able to tighten collection around the non-oil tax side of things. And this is geared towards that. I don't expect that in 2026, miraculously our non-oil revenue or tax revenue is going to surge and start again helping our fiscal numbers. But I believe in the medium to long term, we'll start see that also help improve the fiscal numbers.
All right, let me go to Okunade now. And talking about low-income earners, will low-income earners like the minimum wage workers have to pay more personal income tax? Because the president said it's not going to affect the ordinary citizens. But are they going to have to pay extra income tax under these reforms, or are there protections in place for them?
Thank you very much, Blessing. Happy New Year to you and to all our viewers across the globe. Straight to your question, I think the narrative outside there is those that have access to the social media handle, who are very minimal in number, are pushing out narrative that is misleading to the people that this tax is actually set out to relieve. Let me tell you basically that most of the low-income earner, some will be on tax holiday, the tax exempted. Some will pay minimal tax compared to what they're actually paying before. Critically, the first set of people, anybody earning minimum wage as we speak, is exempted from tax, paying any personal income tax, 800,000 and above. And you also have a consolidated relief of rent relief of up to 500,000. So if you earn as much as 1.3, 1.2, 1.3 million, definitely your tax rate will be zero. And for other graduated rates, as projected by the Fiscal Committee, you discover that there are reduction in the taxes that they are going to pay, except for those that they have as much as 50 million and above per annum, that will have a slight adjustment. And the fairness of this is that a lot of people at the hierarchy, a lot evade taxes, and it is the people at the lower cadre that bear the brunt. Like my brother said, one of the advantages of this new tax law is the unification of all the taxes that we have, levies, where the new tax act will definitely consolidate all this into like 5 headers that we have: the income tax, the stamp duty, the development levy of 4% that was actually put in the VAT taxes. So you discover that the area of people just levying up small businesses will not be a thing of the past, which we expect the implementation team to swing into action, where we'll minimize all those that attack those people. So this new law, sincerely speaking, is, I call it a game changer. Why? If you are doing same thing the same way, you don't expect different results. Can we approach it from a different perspective and see what it can get? But I can tell you that the low-income earner, because of the misconception, thought that possibly they are the target in this particular thing. But I can tell you that the relief is much more for them if they are able to do all that is expected of them correctly.
All right, thank you so much for that. Let me come to Oyekanmi, and this question is going to go both ways, but Oyekanmi first. How would these changes affect the everyday prices at the market? What can the businesses from passing on, or what will stop the businesses from passing on extra costs to the buyers?
Yeah, I think that's an interesting perspective. Personally, I don't see how that on a plain ground, right, normal situation, I don't see how that is supposed to impact prices, because the truth is that the only people who should fear this tax reform are those who do not pay taxes before. I have tried to put the numbers into perspective. Myself, I did the new calculation for my own taxes going forward, and it had reduced just as a result of that graduation that we saw in terms of the payment calendar and the rates. So again, businesses are not necessarily having to pay higher taxes. And again, if you look at it, most of the businesses in Nigeria, right, they're small businesses, and there's already a caveat that says small businesses, that's those who have gross turnover of 50 million and less, are typically exempted from these taxes, right? Those businesses do not have to pay taxes. So I don't see a reason why they should be passing on any form of cost to individuals or businesses or those who are or their customers. Now, for the large businesses that have to pay taxes, the truth is that they are paying the same taxes. It's not like it has increased. It's just what we've seen is that there's now going to be a tight leash to ensure that corporates who make money file those returns and then pay taxes. And this comes again to play where you have the likes of the FCCPC, right, who should be able to now help in protecting consumers, ensuring that businesses do not just over and beyond on their own terms, just increase prices just because they want to be able to pass on the cost of the taxes that they are now paying. Because to me, taxes and the tax did not necessarily increase. And if it does for some business, is rather might be not so substantial. So what will be the problem are those businesses who before now do not pay taxes and would now have to pay, will now try to pass on those costs to individuals. Of course, we have regulators who should be able to help to fight against that and ensure that consumers are protected.
Okay, let me quickly, Okunade, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, he has said much of it. I think it is the responsibility of the regulators, because you see the narrative out there is always misleading, and trust the middle class, trust the wholesalers. They want to cash out on this to come and tell you that, are you not aware that we are now paying taxes? Let's set the record straight. Just like he said, small and medium businesses, in fact, as at the last gazette, the first one was 50 million, but as at the last gazette, it's 100 million turnover, and the fixed asset is 250 million. That is enough. So most medium class are going to be exempted. But you know the problem, before now, a lot of people are actually evading taxes. And now that they have automated the process, but part of the thing that this reform is bringing in, I'm sure you have heard about invoicing for the multinational, the big companies, where the Nigerian Revenue Service can now integrate and monitor what the services look like. These are things that are done in the developed client. Even before you prepare your account, the revenue board already knows taxes that are accruable to you. But before now, a lot of people hide under several things. And with the new introduction of unifying those particular bills, a lot of people might feel that they are after them. It's just doing the right thing, the right way, and be able to fulfill your obligation even to the government. I know a lot of people will now come up with that other aspect to say, we are doing our part. What is the position of the government? And let me conclude by saying, now you have a tax ombuds where you can actually take some of the issues that might arise between you and the Nigerian Revenue Service or any of the Revenue Service department, where they can stand the gap for you. If indeed they are not doing what is right, without you actually making so much payment to that. So that is also a relief, a fallback on, as against what we used to have before. So I feel that the regulators who are concerned with monitoring the prices of goods, so that an average person who is not well lettered or informed will not be exploited, should swing into action as we speak. Taxes has not increased. The only thing is that there is proper monitoring, automation for compliance to everyone that carrying out his businesses in Nigeria.
All right, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us on the news. We really appreciate your time with us. Samuel Oyekanmi, Research and Insight Lead at Norrenberger Financial Group, and Olusesan Okunade, a Chartered Accountant and Tax Consultant. We appreciate your time, and definitely we'll see how the whole tax thing pans out. And I'm really hoping that more Nigerians get educated, because the reason why there's fear and panic most likely is because they don't really understand what the tax situation is about. But thank you so much for your time once again.